When you're chairing a meeting, it's worth knowing that meetings are really conversations. And in fact, I like to think of meetings as being made up of 4 or maybe 5 types of conversation. So in this video, I want to go through the 5 types of conversation that can make up a meeting. A meeting can be one conversation or it can be several. So let's take a look at the 5 different types of conversation. Type number 1 is a conversation for possibility. And a conversation for possibility is the most creative form of meeting conversation. It's all about creating new ideas. It's creative, it's innovative. And if your whole meeting is going to be a conversation for possibility, then it makes sense to find a location for your meeting and to lay out the room in the most relaxed, most comfortable sort of a way so that people can relax into the conversation. Clearly though, most meetings are going to be a series of conversations, so your conversation for possibility is likely to be towards the start of the meeting. So therefore it makes sense to open the meeting with some refreshments and a little bit of social chat so that people are relaxed and ready to contribute their ideas. Type number 2 is a conversation for opportunity. And in conversations for opportunity, what we're trying to do is to narrow down all of the possibilities and select what we are going to do. Therefore, conversations for opportunity are about decision making. Consequently, the sorts of skills you're going to need to hone to be effective in a conversation for opportunity are your influencing and persuasion skills, but also your logical skills for generating agreement and generating a decision. And as a chair of a meeting, facilitating the conversation for opportunity is all about finding the right process for making an accountable decision, for allowing everyone to contribute and for allowing all of the relevant information to be considered by the group, discussed and evaluated. So what's the mechanism you're going to use to generate the decision, and how are you going to ensure that the whole meeting is prepared to stand behind the decision, even if it's not a consensus decision that everyone shares in? It's worth noting, by the way, that if you are a salesperson conducting a sales meeting, then a sales meeting is a conversation for opportunity. And when you are calling a sales meeting and inviting potential clients to that meeting, you will be chairing that meeting in effect. And therefore the skills of advocacy, but also of discussing the options and weighing the options and driving a decision are going to be very valuable to you. Type number 3 is a conversation for action. And if you have a meeting with a number of conversations, then the sequence is likely to go possibility, opportunity, action. Because a conversation for action is about getting things done. We roll up our sleeves and make progress. It's about making plans and taking action. Because we've made our decision, we know what it is we're trying to achieve. The other aspect, of course, of a conversation for action is that this is where you'll be solving problems. You'll be talking through the way that you can resolve issues in a very direct way. So, the conversation for action needs to end with a very clear allocation of responsibilities and an acceptance of those responsibilities by the people concerned. So when you're chairing a conversation for action, or when you're chairing a meeting where you're coming to the end of the conversation for action component of the meeting, an important part of your skill is summarizing what's been discussed, allocating roles, and looking people in the eye and making sure that they're prepared to fulfill their commitments. And of course, it's vital that you document what it is each person has committed to do, who's made the commitment, and the deadline they've committed to meet. Type number 4 is a conversation for relationships. And there are two aspects to conversations for relationships. First, it's the general relationship building. Often a conversation for relationships starts at the beginning of a wider meeting. And part of the reason is because you can't do the more difficult stuff until the relationships have been built. But the other aspect of a conversation for relationships is about sharing information so that we all have a common understanding of a situation. And of course, that's vital too if you're going to discuss possibilities, make selections of opportunities, or indeed resolve problems and make plans in a conversation for action. So our conversation for relationships is really about the dynamics between and among the people in the meeting. Consequently, if you are chairing a conversation for relationships, it's all about being inclusive, not just because people have ideas that you want to engage, which will be true for your conversation for possibility and for opportunity, but it's also because you want to make sure everyone feels part of the group. And everyone in the group can get a sense of how each of their colleagues can contribute. And of course, in sharing information, when you are chairing a meeting, think in your preparation stage about which information it's appropriate to share through the pre-work and which it's appropriate to share during the meeting. Because sharing too much information during a meeting can be a very time-intensive way to share information. But of course, it can also be a particularly good way to share information if that information needs to be interpreted, if people need to discuss it. So there are benefits and costs to sharing information in a conversation for relationships. Type number 5 is the type of conversation which ideally you won't be having in your meetings. If you've ever been to meetings where you've gone along and you've thought, why have I bothered with this meeting? I haven't learnt anything. I haven't improved the relationships I have with my colleagues. We haven't discussed any new ideas. We haven't made any decisions. We haven't made any plans. We haven't solved any problems. We haven't really done anything. What is this meeting? Well, these are meetings for ritual. These are meetings that we have for no other reason than we have this meeting. And a lot of regular meetings in organisations are of this nature. And the fact is they are a waste of everybody's time. So the commitment I'd like you to make is to examine all the meetings that you attend, and in particular to examine all the meetings that you chair, and ask yourself, are these really nothing more than a conversation for ritual? We get together and yet nobody really benefits. Because there is one solution to that, which is to cancel it. And if you find that a component of your meeting seems to achieve nothing, then that may be a conversation for ritual embedded within a larger, more valuable meeting. And by cutting that component of the meeting out, you can make the meeting faster, more effective, more energetic, and therefore more productive. So there we have 5 different types of conversation. And when you're designing your agenda for your meeting, hold those 5 types of conversation in mind and plan your agenda around, firstly, what it is you're trying to achieve, and then secondly, which types of conversation you need to hold in order to achieve those outcomes. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. There's loads more great management courses content to come. So please subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you don't miss a thing. I'll see you in the next one, and in the meantime, keep learning.